Happy Wednesday and welcome to the Just Baseball Show. You got Jack McMullen and I am Peter Apple, and today is part two. We're going to be evaluating Fangraphs player projections for the American League this time. Jack and I are going to go through each team and tell you our biggest takeaways from these projections, whether that be positive or negative. And before we get to that, again, we'll look at American League early spring training standouts. And it's all brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And now, while we wait for baseball, BetMGM has more awesome promos. Every Wednesday throughout the season, pick a player in the NHL like Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews or any of your favorites to score the first goal in the game. If it's not your player, but he scores the game's second goal, you get your money back. And all you got to do is use code JUSTBASEBALL to get started. But remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. Jack, we normally schedule out our times to record, and we were supposed to do it about 4 p.m. on Tuesday, February 25th. And you were a little bit late. And the reason I knew you were a little bit late, and I think this is the coolest thing in the world, is that
Yeah.
I could just go to MLB.TV, go check what inning the Marlins game is in. I had like a real come to earth moment on that, and that just made me feel really cool that you're killing it right now.
Thank you. I'm also going to break some news to you. My schedule was publicly available to you last year too in AAA ball. Like you could just go to MILB.com and check, but I understand. Like you don't have to type in the I, but you know what? It's okay. I like that you're having this epiphany now.
I'm having it now. Just let me have it now. It's pretty
I'm
cool.
letting you have it. I'm totally letting you have it.
14-7. Nationals versus Marlins. A lot of hits. We'll get into the American League spring training standouts, but might as well ask you about the game today.
A lot of hits. Matt Mervis and 109-mile-an-hour homer. Griffin
Mm,
Conine a diving grab and right. It was
the
fun,
boys.
man.
The boys are representing.
The fellas were balling today. Brady House ripped a baseball. Who else? Dylan Cruz ripped a baseball as well. Stole a bag. It was interesting to watch. And Trevor Williams, man, like it's 2 years, 14 mil. It's just a get outs guy. Like he's just a turn the hand, and he's a bunch of different speeds. And the hardest one's going to be 89. But you know what? He's getting out. So that was fun to watch for 2 innings. Like a guy that just knows his arsenal like the back of his hand is a pretty fun thing to watch.
Right? Because we talk about, all these young guys getting their shot or the pitcher that we haven't really seen much
Yeah.
of randomly throwing 100 miles an hour. But sometimes it's nice to just go watch Trevor Williams do his thing that he's been doing for a decade now and is probably
Right.
just going to continue to do so because that's a guy who knows how to pitch, right? When we talk
My
about pitchability, that guy is in the big leagues because of it.
I've seen some fun rehab outings. My first year in Indy, we had Luis Castillo in a rehab, and he was still a Red, and like that
Mm,
was awesome. My favorite rehab outing I ever called was Wade Miley
mm.
because it was like he was just speed running, and he was slinging 87, but it was perfect. I mean, everything was so dialed. It was hilarious to watch 21, 22-year-old guys just drown against a 34-year-old Wade Miley.
Another old guy transitioning into our American League spring training takeaways. How about Mad Max? Max Scherzer struck out 4 in 2 innings. Velocity looked great, was getting a ton of swing and miss. I saw somewhere 50% whiff rate. Blue Jays fans got to love to see that. And I thought another thing that was funny, I don't know if you caught this video today. Alejandro Kirk framed a pitch so well that it fooled Max Scherzer into challenging, and it was so far low in the zone. Like it was an easy ball, but I was thinking about, is that one of the greatest frame jobs we have ever seen? Getting a pitcher like Max Scherzer to instantaneously challenge, and then it's way off. What a frame by Alejandro Kirk. That's almost a bigger takeaway than Max Scherzer, 4 strikeouts in 2 innings.
That probably is a bigger takeaway. Kirk Hives stand up and show out. No, it's funny trying to think about like the veteran element of the challenge system because a lot of the guys that I'm watching that challenge have been challenging in the minor leagues to this point. Like they challenged in AAA last year, so they know how to do it. But I'm thinking about a Scherzer, like a Scherzer tapping the top of his hat. This is like a novel concept for him. He was probably giddy to do it. He was like, "Oh, I want a borderline pitch, so I can challenge."
And speaking about the new challenge system, Stephen Kwan in the Guardians game today drew a walk, but it was challenged, and overturned to a strike, step back in the box, double down the left field line. Just
Nice.
cranked one. And
I
that's a cool
saw
element. I think Arm tweeted about it too. That's another cool element about the challenge system is that let's say you don't want more walks and that ends up being a strike, get back in the box, ball don't lie. It's going to be a big ball don't lie type of rule.
it will be a ball don't lie type of rule, which is really exciting. And again, we saw this in AAA, so you could have been tuned into this in AAA, but you weren't, which is okay. I forgive you.
Well, why
Juan,
would
I
I
think
be tuned in? I got you and Aram. You're hosting the Call Up podcast that is doing phenomenally well. You break down prospects every single day. Why would I watch minor league baseball when I just get you two feeding me all the knowledge that I ever could need?
because you can watch the guys that we talk about, and that's the
True.
one service that we cannot provide to you on the call up. But
But you know how good I am as a scout. Like when we go to the futures game, and I immediately can recognize who's got it and who doesn't by
you're
just kind of
really
looking at
good.
the way they warm up. So all I need really is YouTube highlights to know if a guy's got it or not.
You're really good at the one takeaway from every futures game. And it's been Cade Cavalli, Lawrence Butler, and Jacob Mizorowski. Did you have a takeaway this year?
Shane Boz,
Shane Baz has
um,
been a takeaway.
Drake Baldwin was my takeaway from the last one, and look at
Oh,
him
because he
now.
hit a homer.
No, he every single ball he hit was a rocket ship. Drake
Yeah.
Baldwin for the Atlanta Braves. But speaking about young guys, how about Curtis Mead for the Tampa Bay Rays off to a really hot start? 6 for 7 with a double, hitting 857, which leads all spring training hitters.
Sure.
Just is he going to get to play? Right? Because we're going to talk about the Rays projections. Like Brandon Lau's projections look really, really good. Junior Caminero is going to take over at third base. Yandy Diaz is, of course, at first. When does Curtis Mead get to actually play? And not only am I asking that for the talent that Curtis Mead is, but I also have an autograph baseball card of his that I need to increase in value, please.
I have no idea when Mead is actually going to play. Uh, what I will say is that's a guy that needs run at the major league level. And we talk a lot about guys like that. And I think Tampa always has guys like that. And they managed to find a spot for Aranda. If they can't find a spot for Mead this year, it might be time to move him and just let him experience big league play elsewhere. Because it's just brutal when you burn all these guys' options, man, and they're just toiling away in AAA. But if I'm not mistaken, this is Mead's last option year. He's already been optioned twice, so I don't know. I'm excited to see what Mead can do this month to force the Rays' hand in one way or another.
Kind of has a Joey Ortiz Orioles feel, where
Yeah,
that infield was
yeah, or
just so
Connor
chalk,
Norby.
something
Yeah,
like that, and then they go over to a different team, finally get some run, and end up being a pretty damn good player. That feels like
yeah,
what Curtis Mead would become as long as he just gets some runway here.
I think so. By the way, sticking on the Rays point, you watched much Chandler Simpson to this point or no?
That was going to be my next takeaway.
Yeah, okay, good.
How about the guy? I mean, every single time it's either an infield hit or it's a I mean, they're all base hits, right? And Chandler Simpson, by the way, for anybody who's not familiar, 90 grade speed, is that fair? On a 20 to 80 grade, like 80 is a
Hmm.
Hall of Fame level tool. This is, and I think it was Peyton who broke this down. Bobby Witt Jr. fastest home to first time, 4.04 seconds last year. Chandler Simpson, 3.8. Coming off 100 steals in the minor leagues. Then in spring training so far, a bunch of base hits and steals a bag whatever he wants to. Incredibly, incredibly exciting. But could he be more Billy Hamilton or could he be more?
So the overarching thing, and I love Aram's comp to Juan Pierre that he's thrown out for Chandler Simpson, which is a great
Mm,
one. My thought on Chandler Simpson, and like there's no pop there. There's zero juice.
yeah.
But in terms of getting on base, like in terms of actually drawing a walk, and in terms of putting the ball on the ground and letting your legs eat and not just popping it up all the time, he I think has the opportunity to do what I wanted Billy Hamilton to do so bad. It's like you're the fastest guy in baseball. Play like it. And Chandler Simpson plays like it. And we've seen him lay out for diving catches in center. We've seen him leg out infield singles. We're 4 days in to spring training ball, and we've already seen Chandler Simpson take over innings.
Yeah.
How cool is that? He has this opportunity to be this throwback table setting leadoff guy. I don't know when. Back half at 25, all at 26. I don't know when it's going to happen, but when it happens, he's going to be a really fun watch for anybody when they turn on a Tampa Bay Rays game.
Another fun watch, but this time in the power department. How about Cam Smith? Houston
Sure.
Astros came over in the Kyle Tucker trade, homered twice in his last game after walking twice in his first game. Hit a home run in the sixth, then hit another home run in the eighth. Astros fans have to be, happy with that, especially after you trade away your superstar. You better get some talent in return, and Cam Smith is already making his mark.
He's going to make his mark, and that's going to hurt a lot for Cubs fans. But you also got to remember that you got Kyle Tucker for him. So
Yeah, to them,
you
it's
can either
like, do they really care if now they have Kyle Tucker? If Kyle Tucker leaves and Cam Smith just blossoms into this perennial all-star, then maybe in a few years they'll feel it. But right now, I don't think Cubs fans could give a shit what Cam Smith is doing.
no, and it's also so funny that like Isaac Paredes is going to wear out the Crawford boxes. Paredes is going to hit 30 homers this year, and Cubs fans will be like, "Yeah, don't care. Have Kyle Tucker." It's like, okay, I understand, but those two can be very good for a very long time, I think, in Paredes and Cam Smith.
You mentioned 30 home runs for Isaac Paredes. The projections disagree. But
I'm sure.
let's start with the New York Yankees. We'll go
Okay.
American League East, then we'll do the American League Central, and then we'll do the American League West. Remember, all of these projections for hitters, we're looking at the Bat X projections. You can find them on Fangraphs. And for pitchers, we're looking at ATC. Why are we looking at two different projection systems? Well, ATC was voted the most accurate for pitchers by Fantasy Pros 2 years in a row. The Bat X was voted the best for hitters now 2 years in a row. So we're bringing you the best projection systems that we have possible. But another reminder, they are often conservative, right, in nature. So, for example, Aaron Judge for the Yankees, he's coming off 58 home runs, only projected 48. That's obviously a lot, but the highest WAR total is around 7.5, right? He's coming off an 11-win season.
Yeah.
So they're going to be more conservative. So just put that in the back of your mind. I'll throw a bunch over to Jack and we'll get his takeaway. So we will start with the New York Yankees. And I want to start with Jason Dominguez. Jason Dominguez's projections are kind of low per the Bat X and pretty high versus the Steamer projections. So I kind of wanted to throw both at you and see which one that you're coming along with because I know my answer.
Okay.
Bat X, OPS slightly over 700, a WRC plus of 100, which is a league average hitter with 15 home runs, 19 stolen bases, and a 1.3 FWAR, right? So under 20 home runs, under 19 stolen bases, 700 OPS. Steamer, though, 750 OPS, 113 WRC plus, 22 homers, 22 stolen bases, 2.8 FWAR. That's a big difference here, right? Well over 2020, nearly
Yeah.
a 3-win player versus a decent bat. Which one are you buying more?
I want to say somewhere in the middle, but to be totally honest, man, like I'm actually closer to the Steamer, I think, than the Bat X. Like I'm closer to him being 2020 and being a 3-win player. I have seen plenty of negative things being put out there about Jason Dominguez's defensive ability because he's lost two baseballs in the sun to this point.
Can I answer
Uh,
that?
yeah,
It's obviously hard. I'm a Yankee fan. Like watching Jason Dominguez, he was struggling so much in left field, but this is a former center fielder. He should be able to make the adjustment, right? It's different reads. It's not like it's a super easy position in left, but he should be able to make the reads. And then to see him drop two fly balls early, not great. But what I will say is, if you've been watching spring training, I mean, you've been calling all these spring training games. The sun in left field at a lot of these parks is basically impossible. Like it was even
correct.
listening to Stephen Kwan talk about it that in his first season, he lost a ball in the sun and he thought he was going to get sent down. Like it's just really
Correct.
hard out there in left. So I'm not willing to say because he dropped two balls in the sun in spring training that he can't adjust to left field. And what I think the Bat X is also not factoring into his projections enough is the power. I mean, when he came up in 2023, he hit 4 home runs in 8 games. And now the power wasn't necessarily there last season, but he showed plenty of power output, slugged over 500 in his last year in the minors. Like the Bat X projection has him with a slugging percentage below 400. I just can't accept that. I think it's going to be in the 430 range. I think it's going to be over 20 home runs. I think it's going to be over 20 stolen bases. Now, the WAR, I'm not sure. Let's see how he adjusts to left field. But I think
Yeah.
the Bat X is just too low projecting his offensive output, specifically in the power department.
So what I'm also going to say is there's a big difference in walk rate here, where K rate is pretty lined up, right? It's going to be 24, 25%. But the difference between an 8.5% walk rate and a 9.5, 10% walk rate is drastic there. And I like to think that Dominguez is going to see pitches, knowing that he has everyday run and he doesn't need to prove his worthiness for a spot and scratch and claw for a spot the entire time. I like to think that his plate discipline will come through a little bit and it'll be closer to a 10% walk rate than a 7% walk rate. Or I think first elongated big league stint, and elongated is not the right word because neither have been very long at all. But it was around 6%. Like that's going to go up. Um, I like to think that he's going to walk a bit, and I do think that he's just going to accumulate WAR in a way that a lot of projection systems don't forecast for him. So I would lean closer to the positive outcome, although I think it is going to fall somewhere in the middle. Like I would think 110 WRC plus and a 2.2 F4. Like that's what I would guess for Dominguez this year.
I think that's fair. I'm buying high though.
Yeah,
I
I
think he
get
has
it.
a
I,
really good
I
year.
totally understand. And the thing is, you're just jumping for joy that it's not Verdugo.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, like I know how Yankee fans work. Like you are just amped that you're not Verdugo, so they're gonna love it.
I'm also just generally amped for this guy. I mean, this is a prospect that we've heard for a
He's out of this world.
very long time, right? Compared to Mickey Mantle of all people. I just want to see him play. I want to see him get a full runway here. And I think he's going to get to do that in left field. Another player with very lofty projections. And it isn't really much of a takeaway. I just wanted to bring it up. Jazz Chisholm was projected for 26 home runs and 35 stolen bases.
It's too much.
But remember, these projection systems are conservative. Players with at least 25 home runs and 30 stolen bases, projected wise by the bat: Ellie De La Cruz, Ronald Acuna Jr., Jose Ramirez, Bobby Witt Jr., Shohei Ohtani, and Jazz Chisholm. Are you buying that grouping? I am. Why not? Why not, Jack?
No, I don't think so.
He's
Like
coming off 24-40.
he is coming off 24-40. That's a sneaky part of that.
Yeah.
Man. I don't know. 26 homers is a lot for Jazz. And I understand that he just played his career high 147 games, but like I got to see it over the course of a whole season. It's just so funny that I'm trying to convince you on guys where it's like, yeah, I got to see him do it again. I have to see Jazz Chisholm play 145 games again.
I think that's where we're at here. You are not doubting the production if he stays healthy. You are doubting the ability to stay on
I'm
the
doubting
field.
his ability to play 145 games.
I think that's fair. What I will say in support of Jazz, and I've been a known Jazz hater, but in support of Jazz, been learning a bunch of different positions, right? Second
Yeah.
base, shortstop, going over to center field as a young player. Like that could potentially lead to more injuries. But what I do know is that when he came over to the Yankees, even learned third base, raked, right? Tons of homers, tons of steals. So I think Yankee fans are kind of looking for who's going to be the second best hitter after Judge. Is it going to be
Yeah.
Bellinger? Is it going to be Goldschmidt? I think it's going to be Jazz. I think Jazz puts up a really, really nice season.
Got you.
My last takeaway for the Yankees is an interesting one. Max Fried or Garrett Cole, who's the Yankees ace next year? Because by the projections, Max Fried is looking real good. Tons of innings at a 3.4 ERA. Again, remember conservative projections. Garrett Cole, plenty of innings as well. 3.7. You buying that Max Fried puts up a better ERA than Garrett Cole this year?
No, I am not flat out. Like I Cole deserves a better projection because of what he's done over the last 5 years. Like Cole is in the conversation for, top five pitcher on the planet. And Freed has been really good, but he's not in the conversation for top five pitcher on the planet. So like I guess that's just old head in me saying give Cole some darn respect over here, but I don't think that's fair for them to project Freed as better than Cole, especially year one in that division. Like Cole knows these hitters. Freed is going to learn these hitters.
I'm glad you mentioned a lot of stuff of what I was going to mention. The one thing I'll add, Garrett Cole, once he got settled back in from his injury, was pitching really, really well to an ERA below 3, and then goes in the playoffs and does typical Garrett Cole stuff, right? The strikeout stuff isn't as strong. So pitchers, when you look at these projection systems, like Corbin Burns, like Garrett Cole, right on the wrong side of 30, and have seen a drop in strikeout stuff. So the projections expect that to continue. I'm not there yet with Garrett Cole. I'm not there yet with him at all. Three
Yeah.
seven, I think, is a bit egregious. I think he's going to be in the low threes, and I think Max Fried has the opportunity to outperform him, but it's not at Garrett Cole's expense, if that makes
I would not
sense.
be projecting it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely not. All right, let's move over to the Baltimore Orioles. One thing that just made me happy that I don't think it's a takeaway at all, and I think it'll make you happy as well. Adley Rutschman's projections are awesome. Like
Yeah.
right back to being the man. But he is coming off a rough season, right? 2.8 F4 wasn't quite the Adley Rutschman that we're used to as one of the best catchers in baseball, but it's good to see him just right back to it.
Yeah.
Um, Another fun one. Jackson Holliday is projected for a higher F WAR than Cedric Mullins and Tyler O'Neill. You buying that? Think
I
about it for a
will.
second because Mullins is coming off a decent year. Like I think
I
his
know.
year kind of went under the radar a little bit. Plenty of homers, all those steals, and Tyler O'Neill's coming off 31 home runs. Jackson Holliday.
I'm buying Jackson Holiday outwarring Tyler O'Neill. Mullins is the harder one for me to
Yeah,
grasp, but I still like it because
I know.
Holiday can play short and he's
Yeah.
transitioning over to second base. Like, dude, I think those three infielders could be awesome to watch. If Adley bounces back and they've got Westberg at third, they've got Gunnar at short, and they've got Holiday at second, and hopefully they figure out a way to get Kobe Mayo DH or first base games. Like this infield, I know we're banking on promise there with a couple of young guys, but dude, like that could be awesome. And Holiday, the ground beef thing is funny. He's eating a lot of ground beef and he looks like Popeye now, but it might be, I don't want to say like the physical build is real, but the second year boom could be real. How can you go through a sophomore slump if the first year looks like that? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
And you're going up and
this is
down.
yeah, he found out where he got exposed at the major league level, and you don't think this guy had everything queued up and was working on everything for 5 months during the offseason to get right? I guarantee you, Jackson Holiday is coming back to the big leagues better.
I have a question for Orioles fans. Let us know in the YouTube comments below. And as long as you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe as well. But fans of all teams, but Orioles fans specifically, do you want the Orioles to start Jackson Holliday and let him play at second base all year, no matter what? Like, let's say he gets off to a really slow start, right? Let's say in April, May, we're looking at a 30% strikeout rate. You see flashes. The defense is pretty good. But do you want them to continue to run that out there? Because, like you've mentioned, and we've talked about on the show a ton, they have plenty of prospects. They can
Yeah.
move a couple of guys. So Jackson Holliday doesn't necessarily need to make a major impact for the Orioles to have a great season. So that's why I'm wondering, Orioles fans, are you just riding the wave this year? Or if he does struggle, would you like him to get pulled back out and pulled back down to the minors? I'm curious their thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I'll speak for them and correct me if I'm wrong in the YouTube comments, but like I wouldn't option him again.
Me
I
too.
think that would be
He has
brutal.
nothing left to prove at AAA.
Yeah, and also like what does that do for his psyche if
Yeah,
he struggles again for the first 3 weeks and it's like, oh, he's still so young. All right, well, you burned his second option.
yeah,
Like that stinks.
yeah. It does. All right. Next one. Again, another thing that I wanted to talk about, but not necessarily a takeaway. Front two of Zach Eflin and G Rod is kind of getting underrated, and
By the
specifically by me.
projections?
No, by me. I'm talking
Okay.
about like when you think of the Orioles rotation, all you can think about is Dean Kramer, Charlie Morton, Tomoyuki Sagano, Trevor Rogers, Cade Povich, and you're like, how are they going to win any games? And then you kind of forget, you're like, oh, Zach Eflin and Grayson Rodriguez, they're pretty good. The projections love them. And if they perform like the projections do compared to other top end duos in the American League, they really could form one of the better 1-2 punches in the American League, right? You look at the landscape and you're like, yeah. I mean, if Grayson Rodriguez takes that next step and Zach Eflin is as solid as he always is, it's a really good front two. So again, I don't even know how you build off that. Just I want you to know that. And I want Orioles fans to know that I'm here for it.
Yeah. Let's play a game. Grayson and Eflin or Cole and Freed?
Colin Freed.
Grayson and Eflin or, I mean, Bybee and who? I don't know. Grayson and Eflin or Reagans and Lugo?
Hmm. Reagan's is
Right.
the best of them all, and Lugo is the worst of them all.
Ah,
Would be
his
my
numbers
take.
last year would indicate otherwise.
No, I agree. I'm saying for 2025, I
Yeah.
think that if you were to rank those pitchers, it would be Reagan's one. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Grayson takes that leap two, Eflin three, then Lugo four.
I would actually go Reagan's 1, Lugo 2, Grayson 3, Eflin 4.
Okay.
So I think they're flat out better. Uh, how about Grayson and Eflin versus Fromber and Hunter Brown?
I was about to mention that. I will take Framber and Hunter Brown, but not by a lot.
Okay.
Mm,
How about
maybe by a little
Grayson
bit.
and Eflin versus pick two Mariners, Gilbert and Kirby?
Mariners. They're
And
just
then
too proven.
Grayson and Eflin versus DeGrom and Eovaldi.
I'm taking the Orioles. Like, of course, DeGrom is better than all of them by a ton. DeGrom is better than everybody, but I can't. I have no idea how many innings he's going to pitch. And Eovaldi, again, like, can his arm withstand this? So I would go with the Orioles there.
So all I'm saying is that it's a conversation, and they're not clearly the top dogs in the American League, and rightfully so. The conversation is about the other 60% of the rotation, because like, hey, the front two could be awesome, but what are their goals? It's pretty similar to what we talked about on the Monday show, right? If your goals are to contend for a wild card spot, then they're in a decent spot. But if their goals are to win the division and contend for a World Series, they're not in a decent spot.
Yeah. It's hard to
So,
disagree with you.
yeah.
Let's talk about that other 60% in the rotation because G Rod and Eflin, and then it's expected that Dean Kramer and Charlie Morton are going to round out the four.
Yeah, and Shigano is going to round out the five.
Is he? So that's the question here. So projections mostly have it wide open. The projections have Sagano as the five, but they also have like Cade Povich, Trevor Rogers, Albert Suarez throwing 80 to 90 innings with Sagano at like 120. So it's not, you know, dust ourselves off and we have our five. And personally, after looking at the projections, I'd go with Cade Povich over Sagano. I know they just gave him $13 million. I know that the Orioles are going to give it to Sagano because they gave him the money. But if I'm the Orioles, we want to play the young guys. Like, I'm Cade Povich is my number five starter to start the year, but they're not going to do it. And it's
They
going to
can't
piss
do
me
that.
off.
They paid Shigano again. They paid Shigano $13 million, and he threw 156 and 2/3 innings last year in the NPB. And by the way, a 1.67 ERA. He was 15 and 3, 156 and 2/3 innings. He walked 16 guys. So he's going to be around the strike zone. It's just the question is he going to get killed or not?
So I know we aren't supposed to take a ton away from spring training or any of these bullpens, but what I will say is I watched Tomoyuki Sagano's bullpen and I said to myself, I could get a hit in 10 ABs. I did say that. And you know what? A lot of people just say that. I'll stand on it. If Sagano
Let him.
wants me, I will travel to Baltimore. Give me 10 ABs. Give me everything you got. I will get a hit in 10 ABs. Not 100, 10.
I'm making that a quote.
Good. All right. Boston Red Sox. This one's pretty cool. Christian Campbell versus Roman Anthony. Anthony's projected for more games, but Campbell is projected for the higher F war by a decent bit, 1.1 to 0.6, and WRC plus 102 to 95. Before you give your opinion on who should be the higher projected player, why do you think the projections are so much higher on Christian Campbell? And that's not a detriment to Roman Anthony. I just want to hear why you think projection systems are loving Christian Campbell already.
So can you give me the game played total for both of them?
It's like, I mean, I'd have to go back, but
I think that's important.
it's like 60 games for Campbell and like 78 for Roman
So
Anthony.
it's more for Anthony.
It's more for that's why I wanted to bring it up. It's more games for Anthony, but a almost twice the amount of F war in like 20 less games with a higher WRC plus for Campbell.
I think that's a glitch in the matrix. I think it's
Okay.
probably accounting for minor league stats, and Campbell has so few minor league stats that aren't awesome. You know what I mean? Like, he was a later draft pick, and he spent, a month of minor league baseball in 2023, and then in 2024, he was the best hitter in minor league baseball. Like, I'll pull up the exact numbers on Christian Campbell just to give you the idea of what I'm talking about. Like, the thing is with Roman, like there's an expanded sample where you can get a more clear picture of who he can be versus Christian Campbell 22 games before 2023 and he was awesome. 309, a 441 OBP and 911 OPS. Then 115 games this year, 330, 439, 558 slash. So this guy in the minor leagues, yeah, has a 986 OPS, but he's only played 137 games. As opposed to Roman Anthony, and I'm pulling up his numbers now, like all of Campbell's sample is good. And then Roman Anthony, he was young, but he was exceeding at the level. Like he's played 245 games and he's got an 871 OPS. So what I assume is happening is they're pulling from all the minor league numbers here. Like this is not a person sitting here and it's like, yeah, I think he's going to have a 9.4% walk rate. I just think the data points that they're pulling from are minor league statistics and they're always going to side with Campbell.
So my next question is, do you think Campbell could come up and be that good this early?
No, I think Roman will out WRC plus and out war Christian Campbell. Although I think Campbell's going to get extended run, so I think they have that backwards.
No, but I that's not really my question. I agree with you. I'm more asking like, should Red Sox fans, because I think they expect Roman Anthony to come up and hit, should they expect Christian Campbell to do the same? Like, are you as bought in on Campbell? I know Aram isn't as bought in on Campbell.
It's
Are
it's
you
a
more
swing
bullish on him?
thing. It's a swing thing. It's a weird like unorthodox swing that hasn't really had this track record of proven success in the major leagues and Aram can get into that much more in depth than I can, but all he's done since he's gotten into pro ball is mash. So if he has a good spring, who am I to say, oh yeah, it's not going to work in the regular season?
That's fair.
I'm watching Christian Campbell very closely this spring because I want to see him face big league pitching. And if he's hitting big league pitching in spring training, who am I to say the guy that has never failed in minor league baseball is going to fail as soon as he gets to the big leagues?
Yeah. So what I will say is, again, I have a few stats that I want to bring up that are positive for the Red Sox, and there are a lot of them. Projections love the Red Sox this year, and it's in part because the bullpen. Adding Garrett Whitlock back there, who has always been a good bullpen arm, his only struggle staying on the field, and he's been transitioning from a starter back to the bullpen, back to being a starter. But now the Red Sox actually have a full rotation, so they likely won't need innings from him as a starter. So he helps the bullpen a ton. Aroldis Chapman, adding him. Liam Hendricks coming back. And Justin Slayton emerged as a really good arm last year. And Brennan Bernardino and Greg Weissert, they're kind of bullpen arms where you're like, oh, Weissert has a good slider or whatever. You might see them in a game and be like, oh, they've got some good stuff, but projections love them too. Like Red Sox fans, when's the last time you feel that you could rely on, what is this, one, two, three, four, five, six bullpen arms? I feel like when I've been watching Red Sox games since 2021, I can rely on one, two, and they've been 38-year-old closers like Kenley Jansen or Chris Martin. Rotation, stacked, adding Crochet, adding Bueller. But how about Brian Bayo taking a leap? Do you know he and Bryce Miller have similar projections? Isn't that
That's
crazy? Yeah,
not
that's a
fair to
little
Bryce
wild. That's
Miller.
a little wild. It's high on Bayo, low on Miller. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in the Mariners section. But I just thought I wanted to bring that up. And, Brian Bayo in the second half, there was a pitch usage tweak for him.
Yeah.
He lifted the fastball completely out of his arsenal in the first half, and it just wasn't really working for him. Then he puts it back in, and he pitched to a low threes, high twos ERA in the second half and looked a lot better. And I think one thing that's really going to help Brian Bayo, and it's going to help Tanner Houck as well, just improved up the middle defense. Right? We project Rafael Devers to play third base. Probably. At least that's what we're
According to
kind of all
Rafi.
thinking. And he's not going to help. But up the middle, with Trevor Story, who by the projections
Yeah.
has him returning to more 2022 form, where he put up a 2.5 win season, 100 WRC plus, 16 home runs, 13 stolen bases. But that was in 94 games. So the projections for Trevor Story are really nice. Then you had Alex Bregman at second base, likely Cedon Rafael in center field.
Yeah.
That's much better for ground ball pitchers like Tanner Houck or like Brian Bayo, where, the underlying metrics always look a little bit better because these ground balls are finding holes.
Yeah.
Not necessarily with this new Red Sox offense. Like this Red Sox team, and that's why I talked about them on my futures video, which you can also find on our YouTube. My first wave of futures is out. I'm on the Red Sox for everything. I got them to win the division. I got Garrett Crochet strikeout leader, and I got Red Sox over wins. I think this team is loaded. I really like
Yeah.
this team.
Pre All-Star, Bayo, 89 and two-thirds at a 5.32 ERA. Opponents at 277 against him. 13 starts after the All-Star break. ERA lowers from 5.32 to 3.47. Batting average against lowers from 277 to 219. So I
Mm,
like the fix there. I think Aroldis Chapman is one of the more underrated free agent signings of the offseason.
yeah. He's just,
They
yeah.
needed help. And Chapman has been throwing fuzzballs for 14 years and he hasn't stopped yet. Like he's what 37 years old and he hit 105 last year
Yeah.
again. Like all right, he might just be an alien and like okay, Red Sox signed an alien.
And then adding Liam Hendricks is huge as well. All right, let's move on to the Tampa Bay Rays. Your favorite player in the world, Christopher Morel. They
Yep.
have him launching back to I wouldn't say superstardom. I would more say stardom. 114 WRC plus 24 home runs, 11 stolen bases. You look at the batted ball quality, and he was one of the unluckiest hitters in Major League Baseball last year. But again, it's like I can say that, but then you watch Christopher Morel and his swing decisions are horrible. I mean, he's swinging at everything. He's trying to launch every single ball that's even close to the zone. But man, when this guy gets hot, he's dangerous. Like this is another guy for the Rays that could just blossom again for him. You're on the no train. I'm on the yes train.
I think I'm on the no train.
I'm on the yes train. All right, one more, or actually two more for the Rays. Another prospect I wanted to pick your brain on, Carson Williams.
Yeah.
100 WRC plus with above average defense is the projection.
Yeah.
What should the Rays do at short until Kim comes back? And my question is like, can Carson help them now over a guy like Taylor Walls? Because the Rays,
No.
they piss all of us off, right? We bet on Junior Caminero to win Rookie of the Year. Their manipulation of service time should be studied. I mean, they keep these guys in the minors until the last possible second. So my question isn't to you, will Carson Williams be the opening day shortstop until Ha-Seong Kim gets here? My question to you is, do you think that if the Rays had an entire, like, they fired their GM, they fired everybody in their front office and said, we're completely changing everything. We want Carson Williams to start. Do you think Carson Williams could help the Rays immediately, or do you think he needs more time?
No, he needs time in AAA. He hasn't played. He spent the entire year in AA. I think he's got two AAA games or something, and it was like this weird. For some reason, they put him in AAA for like half a week in 2023. It wasn't even in 2024. So it was just bizarre to have Carson Williams there for that stretch, but he hasn't played in earnest like a AAA game. I would say it was just a weird like org guy thing for a first round pick, which was bizarre. So no, he should not be their opening day shortstop and save time until Ha-Sung Kim comes back. He should start in AAA. I think he's going to get up when he is ready to get up. I think he and Chandler Simpson are going to get up at the same time, and that's going to be like late June, early July. Carson may actually spend more time in AAA, but the way he was swinging it in AA, he could be ready by that time. I also I understand that, like, oh, manipulation to Junior Caminero. They also called him up when he was 20, and they like bypassed AAA entirely with him. So I hear you over the last couple of years, but he was very hurt last year. Like he was trying to get going for 2 weeks, and then he would get hurt, and then he was trying to get going for 2 weeks, and then he would get hurt. So I'm not bailing the Rays out on that. I'm just saying, like, when Caminero was ready, they did call on him the first time. I think Carson, there's an easier path to playing time. You also got to remember, like, where's Junior going to play other than third base? And who did they move at the deadline to open up spots for Caminero, to open up a spot for Caminero full time? Like, if you couldn't get Caminero everyday ABs because Isaac Paredes was an all-star, I get it more so than we need more Taylor Walls. Like, no. They're going to piece it together with Walls. Kim's going to come back. And when Carson Williams is ready, Kim's going to play second base. I think they trade Lau at that point to get out from the 10 million, and Carson Williams plays shortstop. And their middle infield moving forward is Kim at second and Williams at short.
That's fun. That's
It's
really fun.
really fun. And Simpson in center, and it's going to be awesome.
You know what else is fun as shit? This rotation.
Yes.
About an entire rotation projected for an ERA under 3. So, right, we're talking about Garrett Cole at a 3.7. Look at this. Shane McClanahan, Taj Bradley, Shane Baz, Ryan Pepiot, Drew Rasmussen, all project with ERAs under 4.
Yeah.
Like, just another reminder, like,
rotation of the ERA under 4.
yeah, like Garrett
under
Cole is at
3,
a
I was like, whoa.
Oh, my bad. Under 4. Garrett Cole is projected at a 3.7, just to put that in perspective with these conservative projection systems. Like, that is so exciting. Please stay healthy, for the love of God. Please.
I love this rotation in its entirety. McClanahan bouncing back off Tommy John. How good does the stuff look? How long is his leash? Baz, I'm buying this year. Pepio, I've been bought. Like, I'm fully buying a true breakout this year. And Taj is like a weird one for me, but I watched Taj Bradley be so good first time through. If he can figure it out second time through the order, I'm all in on this guy being an elite 5 and dive guy.
Taj Bradley and Shane Baz were one-look futures game guys for me. I was watching Taj Bradley this fastball. I was like, I don't even think he needs a second pitch. That's how good the fastball was. It was jumping. And then Shane Baz, I'm watching a guy who looks like he doesn't want to be out there humming upper 90s with a breaker that was just disappearing. And what I mean by that is it was so easy. The delivery. It looked like he wasn't trying at all. And I'm like, you're getting that out of that? Been fully bought in ever since. So to see those guys at the top of rotation with Shane McClanahan and Ryan Pepiot, again, another guy we're both really high on, with Drew Rasmussen, and Zach Littell could come in as a 6th guy and is a perfectly fine 6th guy in a rotation. He'd be a 4 or 5 in a lot of rotations. So if the Rays can just stay healthy, they're going to be another dangerous team in the East.
Yep.
And another team, Toronto Blue Jays, wrapping up the American League East. Are you buying this? Vladimir Guerrero Jr. projected as the 5th best hitter in all of baseball, behind guys like Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Yordan Alvarez, and Shohei Ohtani. By WRC Plus, you got Vladdy at number 5?
Yes.
Yeah? Me
he
too.
Doesn't punch out. He hits the ball as hard as anybody. Like, yes. Absolutely.
So my next question to you is,
how much do you pay him?
If he is the 5th best hitter in baseball, how much are you paying him, Jack?
$585 million. No, I don't know. He's a first baseman that isn't really that good at first base. I don't know, but is he a top 5 hitter in baseball?
Juan Soto is a quarter outfielder who's not even good at quarter outfield, made $765 million dollars.
That's why baseball's broken right now. That's why these contracts are broken.
So I'm not asking you to give a good value. I'm asking you to put on your broken baseball hat brain and try and predict it with me, because if he does that, 5th, he's 500.
If he finishes 5th in WRC Plus, I'm giving him a $475 million deal.
And you're going to lose out on him because someone's going to give him 5.
That's fine.
Blue Jays fans, again, get in the comment section. If he puts up the 5th best offensive season in all of baseball, just behind those guys, what are you willing to pay? And take a moment to think. We'll take our first break. Continuing on with the Blue Jays, apologies. Felt like that was a good time for a break, just to get your brain turning on the Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Sure.
Get your brain turning even more. Bo Bichette, projected 104 WRC plus. We got to remember, 120 every season except last year where he was at 71. Higher or lower? 104 for Bo Bichette.
I don't know. He makes my brain hurt, dude.
I don't know.
Like, honestly, I have no idea. Do you have like firm yes for me?
Over. This bat is too good. The hands are too quick. He gets to too many balls. There's no way it's not.
Did you watch him play baseball last year?
Yeah. And it was not quite the same. Dealt with some injuries here and there, and just That's code for he looked horrible. That's
Yeah.
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 Too good of a bat. I'm not giving up. No way. I'm going way over. So you have no idea. I'm 100% in belief he's going to be over that.
There are guys that I have no idea how to read for 2025, and Bo Bichette is a guy that I have no idea how to read for 25.
The projection systems, I feel like, have a good read on the Blue Jays overall. Like, I wanted to get a bunch of pitching takeaways on them or even some offensive takeaways. Like, it's kind of exactly how you would expect. We're going to get to the Astros as well. It's exactly how you would expect. They
So
expect George Springer and Bo Bichette to be decent, right? They like Will Wagner. They think Vladdy's going to go off. They
they like
think,
Varsho. I assume they like
yeah,
Varsho.
like they like him, but nothing like, whoa, do you think Varsho's going to do this? Or they like him with the
I,
pitching. They like Gosman. They like Bassett. They like Barrios. They think Bowden Francis is going to take a slight step back, but it probably will. Right? It's like
yeah.
the
I wanted to look at Bowden Francis because it's 140 innings at a 4.16. He was 103 innings at a 3.3, and I think 140 at a 4.1 makes a lot of sense.
yeah. That just like what would be your takeaway from that? Yes.
Like, yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Good call.
And then Yario Rodriguez, like throwing 80 to 90 innings at a low to mid fours. Like that makes sense too.
Yeah.
So I would say the only major takeaway is that projections loving Jeff Hoffman is probably huge.
Yeah, sure.
You felt like maybe they might have overpaid for him a little bit just because he's on the older end of the spectrum when it comes to closers, but at least in 2025, hell of an upgrade over a Jordan Romano. And not just Jordan Romano, who came in last year and pitched with 6.5 ERA and was hurt. I'm talking about like good Jordan Romano. The Jeff Hoffman is going to slide in there and even take it above that. And Jordan Romano's projections for the Phillies are far worse than Jeff Hoffman's are this year. So that's got to be a good sign because the Blue Jays last year just dealt with the worst bullpen ever. I mean, the White Sox clearly had a worse bullpen, but it felt during stretches that nobody in this Blue Jays pen could get anybody out. So knowing that they have a guy like Jeff Hoffman, probably the pillow feels softer, feels colder,
You would
feels
think so.
nice and cool, you know, that
Would think
when
so.
they put their head down at night.
Yeah.
All right, you want to get to the American League Central because I'm pretty pissed off at the way the Bat X has priced these Guardians bats. They
Well,
think the
aren't you
projection
pissed off
systems think
every
they'll
year?
suck. Yeah,
I
but
think you're pissed off every year.
this year it feels like horrible. I mean, think about this for a second. Only three Guardians projected with a WRC plus above 100,
That's
with at least
crazy. And
100 games.
is it J Ram, Quan, and that's the thing. Like I'm struggling.
Come on. Jose Ramirez, Kyle Manzardo, and Lane Thomas. Not even Stephen Kwan.
Not Quan.
Not Kwan.
That's crazy. I would have
Crazy.
never guessed, man. I would have never guessed Lane Thomas, to be honest.
Lane Thomas has been kind of raking.
I know he's been kind of raking, but like you say, three guys, like Quan has to be one of those. The fact that Quan is not one of those is egregious.
Egregious. And then you can continue to go down the line. Like, Bo Naylor is not dog meat. Like, the projections have him as.
I mean, look at his numbers over the
I
last few
don't care
years.
about his numbers. He's not dog meat. He's a good catcher, kind of. He needs to develop a little bit, but he's not an 80 WRC plus guy. And you might say, well, that's what he was last year in 2024. People, I don't care. He's not
Bo
that.
Naylor, Bo Naylor last year hit 201 with a 614 OPS.
And
Saying, like, I understand that's not. I don't know what dog meat means. Is that lower grade?
well, is it as bad as Carlos Santana's projections look? Because it looks like white dog shit.
Him being under 100 is also asinine.
Brian Roquillo being right when we brought up these horrible shortstop
Yeah, but
projections like
here's
Javier
the thing.
Baez, he's not going to be worse than Javier Baez. What are we talking about?
Here's the thing, man. Like Rocchio and Naylor, I kind of get because it's
No.
like when have they been good?
Yeah, but I
But
refuse to get it.
Okay, so Carlos Santana in 87.
Like,
No
that's not
way
going to
they're
happen.
projecting. In 87, the last 3 years, 102, 100, 114 last year. In 150 games, a 114.
And he's going to go there and just fall off a cliff? No.
No,
I refuse to believe that.
that's crazy.
One thing I do like, Gavin Williams taking that leap we all think he will.
Yeah.
Right? He had a 4.86 ERA last year, projected under 4 this season. And again, just another reminder, getting an ERA projection under 4 is big.
Yeah.
Gavin Williams is right there. Love to see that.
It's a health thing for him.
Yeah. big time strikeout stuff, big old body coming at you with high octane stuff. Just needs to stay healthy and needs to locate that fastball better. Um, One guy who didn't locate that well in the biggest moment, to Juan Soto, hit that big home run off this Guardians reliever. Hunter Gaddis is the one Guardians reliever among their elite guys like Tim Herron, Cade Smith, Emmanuel Clase. All of their projections look awesome. They do have Hunter Gaddis taking a slight step back. And if I were to pick one of these four elite Guardians relievers to do so, I would agree with Hunter Gaddis. What about you?
Taking a step back,
Yeah, among those four, like if I said Class A,
Cade,
Cade
Heron,
Smith,
Gaddis.
Tim Herron, Hunter Gaddis. I know we kind of ranked Hunter Gaddis higher than Tim Herron in our reliever rankings,
Yeah,
but the lack
it's
of
it.
strikeout stuff, I could totally see Gaddis taking that step back besides Herron.
Yeah, it's just not Clase and Cade. Like you couldn't convince me that Clase or Cade Smith was going to take this huge step back because I
I
thought
really,
like we
I
saw.
can't be convinced that Tim Herron's going to take a step back either.
No,
He's
I don't
so
think so because
good.
it's nastier stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah, I could see it with Gaddis. The thing is, Gaddis just executes his plan every single time, and he's probably going to come out every single time in 25 and execute his plan. So that could be change up bearing in on righties. Like it could just work every night, and I wouldn't be stunned. I would probably say Gaddis is the leader in the clubhouse in terms of taking a step back, but Heron isn't far behind, and they're both like decently low likelihoods for me because they're both
yeah,
really darn good.
I agree. All right, let's move on to the Kansas City Royals. Not a ton of takeaways. Similarly to the Blue Jays, similarly to the Astros, it's kind of what you would expect. But I have a fun question for you, Jack. Who puts up the higher WRC plus next year for the Kansas City Royals? Jonathan India or Vinny Pasquantino? Last year, they both put up a 108 WRC plus, and Jonathan India is projected to have the higher one this year at 113 versus Vinny P at 110.
I,
My brain says, of course, Vinny P. But India is still a good hitter, and the Royals needed more bats. So it's all just good things for the Royals, right? If Royals fans are listening to this, this is all good, right? You just have another bat to put in there because it's like if Bobby Witt Jr. goes down, who is going to pick up the slack here? You have
yeah,
another above average hitter in Jonathan India to do it. But I am still asking the question: India versus Vinny P next year, higher WRC plus.
people are sleeping on the fact that India walked like 12.5% of the time last year.
Really good. He's a good bat.
It was a 12.6% walk rate in 151 games. Like
And
that's a mutually beneficial deal. Like that was maybe the deal of the offseason.
people might turn on Jonathan India because they say, well, he's coming over from Great American Ballpark. It's so easy to hit there. Kauffman Stadium was a top five park to hit in. Just ask Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
Right? In terms of just hits, like by Baseball Savant Park Factor, they're number three. And you should see Bobby Witt Jr.'s slash line at home last year. Oh my dear God. I mean, it
Yeah.
was like 360, 460, 600 with a 1200 OPS. So it's a nice park to hit in. So Jonathan India shouldn't skip a beat.
The math isn't mathing, by the way. That would be a 1060 OPS, but I get what you were doing there.
You want me to look it up for you right now?
No. Yeah, you know what? Do
Yeah,
that.
while
Home
you
run
give me
splits
your
for
answer,
Bobby.
I'll look it up for you.
I had the same exact reaction where my knee jerk is, oh, of course, Vinny. But then I sat there and I thought about it for 10 seconds and I was like, well, I think people underrate India's abilities. If India hit more than what, like 15 or 16 homers last year, with Great American being his home ballpark, I would be more inclined to say India. But like, it's not like Vinny's this insane power threat either. I think it's going to come down to homers. And all I want to do is say Vinny's going to hit more homers. Like
Yeah.
Vinny's going to hit 25 homers this year. But are we sure?
I'm
Like,
not sure, but I'm willing to believe it with you.
I'm
It's
willing
one
to
of those that
believe it
let's
too.
just step out on the plank and walk it for Vinny. Let's just do it. Why not?
Give me India, new life. You know
Huh.
what? Give me India.
I'm taking Vinny. And it's not because India takes a step back. I think India does put up like a 110 to 115, but I think
Yeah,
Vinny's
you
going to be
think
in the
this is
120
the year
range.
Vinny puts his, yeah.
Not everything together, but I think it's a 120 or higher.
Yeah, got it.
And for Bobby Wood Jr. home slash line last year, 382, 441, 676 for an 1117 OPS. Got a sec.
That is good.
845 OPS on the road, though. Is he just a Mariners starting pitcher? Should we start
Yeah, I
that
think
narrative?
so. That's a good way to do it. Instead of like Kaufman Merchant, is he just a Mariners pitcher?
Is he Logan Gilbert? All right. What else do we got here? Oh, just something that I also wanted to note. Sneaky great bullpen that the Royals have kind of put together. Lucas Erceg, Hunter Harvey, Carlos Estevez forms a great back three. But then you got Jonathan Schreiber and Angel Zerpa, all very solid projections. It's a sneaky good bullpen, Jack.
They got some other fringy arms that were kind of balling out in Omaha too. Like they needed a big three. They needed leverage arms. And note, Urseg is new at the deadline. Harvey is new at the deadline, and Estevez is new in free agency. They needed bullpen help bad. That was their key deficiency. They had the third. Yeah, they had the third best player on the planet last year in Bobby Witt, and he was the offense. And regardless of if he had help or not, like the Royals' offense was a net positive because they had the third best player on the planet. That rotation was awesome, and they had multiple All Stars in it. And Waka was an All Star after the All Star break. So like they were being guided by a lot of great things, but the bullpen was the key deficiency. I think projection systems agreeing with this or not, the Royals bullpen is one of the most improved units in baseball going into 25.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the Detroit Tigers. This is a fun one. Glaber Torres projected higher WRC plus than Colt Keith and Parker Meadows.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily, oh, well, that means Colt Keith and Parker Meadows aren't going to do anything. Projection systems love Glaber. Projected at the same WAR as Jose Altuve,
Whoa.
eighth highest among second basemen. The Glaber Torres train is rolling through Detroit. Are you here for
That
it?
is that is crazy that Altuve, what, eighth highest WAR for a second baseman?
The reason it's an easy narrative builder to add Altuve, he's never had high projections in his entire career. He's
Yeah.
just always a guy who outperforms every single metric that a computer can spit out. So that's more just bringing a good name for the narrative, but still, I mean, Gleyber Torres, right? He's not in our top 10 second baseman, but he's projected the eighth highest WAR. You buying though that he has a higher WRC plus than Cole Keith or Parker Meadows?
I am. I think Gleyber Torres is a good hitter that like
Yeah, he is a good hitter.
caught he caught so much shade as a Yankee. That
Yes.
ballpark is going to be a weird adjustment, but like he caught so much unnecessary shade in a Yankees uniform.
I'm still wearing my Gleyber Torres jersey to the to Yankee Stadium this season. I don't
Yeah,
care.
of course. Of course. Glaber, it's funny because like we talk about him a lot, and you think underappreciated hitters are guys in smaller markets that you don't get to talk about. Like, oh, this A is one of the more underappreciated hitters in the league. Like, Gleyber Torres is a career 113 WRC plus, and people treated him like he was dog meat at points. Like with what the Yankee fan base did to Gleyber Torres, I think he has been one of the more underappreciated hitters in Major League Baseball.
I hope he has a huge year for the Tigers. Another fun one. Jack Flaherty or Reese Olson next year? Projections have them very similar. High threes ERA and around 150 innings. Flaherty has the edge in innings. It's about 159 to Reese Olson about 142. But similar ERA projections. And I was like, that's kind of a fun one because Reese Olson, we forget. It's not been a ton of innings so far, but in 2023, put up a 3.99 in 103 innings. Then last year, 3.53 ERA in 112 innings. He's still just 25 years old. But Jack Flaherty, of course, remember him pitching for the Dodgers, said he still had a great year, and him and Scooble are friends, and Scooble wanted him back in the rotation, and he's still a very good pitcher. But question to you, there's a part of me that wants to say Reese Olson.
I hear you. I'm going to go with Flaherty. I think Flaherty pitches with a lot of freedom this year.
Mm.
And the reason I say that is because he had his choice and he came back to Detroit. Like, he's exactly where he wants to be. I'm sure there were other teams that were offering him probably more money. Like, I would assume Sacramento, if the grievance thing is real, like, Sacramento would have been offering him more money. I feel like he chose Detroit in this free agency period. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that was just the gut feel on he goes back on those terms, the social media reaction from him, from Scooble, all of that. He wants to pitch in Detroit. And that's exciting. And I feel like that could give him that little boost that he needs to be in the mid threes again.
I can get behind that. I'm gonna pick Reese Olson just for fun,
Yeah, that's
just
fine.
because I like that arm they got there. Another just hilarious one. Casey Mize or Jackson Jobe next year.
Job.
Similar projections. Mize's are better.
Job. Come on.
But you're a Mize guy. I wanted to hear the. You know
Job.
what? This
No.
is why Casey Mize is gonna be
No.
better than Jackson
Come
Jobe.
on.
Dang it. I agree.
Job.
I agree, Job too. But I wanted to see if I could fish you into a Mize like domination type year.
No, I mean Jim Boeheim to Andy Katz, right? You're not a journalist, you're an idiot. Like that's the thing. If I picked Casey Mize, I wouldn't be a journalist, I'd be an idiot.
The computer's the computer's not an idiot, is he?
Not a
Or her?
journalist, an
Whatever it is.
idiot.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to the Minnesota Twins. Projections fucking love this team. They love
Yeah,
this.
because they project everybody playing over 110 games.
I know, and I'm starting to buy in. And it's
Don't,
just it's not
don't.
good for
This
my
is the new
mental health.
Angels. This is the new Angels.
I
Hey, did you
know.
see that Royce Lewis homer the other day? Oh my gosh.
Let me see if I can fire you up at all. 5 players projected with the WRC plus above 110. You don't see that often. Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, Trevor Larnach, Matt Wallner, and Royce Lewis. We got to remember, only 89 players are projected with a 110 WRC plus higher in all of Major League Baseball, and the Twins got 5 of them.
That's crazy.
Step one,
That's crazy that Larnach is in that group.
hits the
Like I
ball
just
a ton, hits the shit out of the ball, just never on the
I
field.
know he does. It's just so funny because like if you ask me, is Trevor Larnach a top 90 hitter in baseball? I'm like, no, no way. And then it's like, wait,
Computer's telling you to
maybe?
eat shit.
Yeah.
Let me fire you up even a little bit more. 6 relievers projected for a 370 ERA or lower. Again, conservative projection system, so that's very good. Yohan Duran, Griffin Jacks, Danny Collum, Brock Stewart, Cole Sands, Justin Topa. They go 6 deep in the bullpen. And then you got Pablo Lopez on a bounce back. You got Joe Ryan. You got Bailey Ober, which then gets me into my next one. Remember when I hyped up David Festa?
Yeah. They
Projection
love him.
system, love him. Projected to grab
Yeah.
the 5th spot in the rotation, but also outperformed Simeon Woods Richardson. And you are a noted hater of Simeon Woods Richardson. Haters might be a
Doubter.
strong word.
Doubter.
Doubter is much nicer, but they all elicit the same thoughts inside Jack McMullen's head. But just looking at ERA and strikeouts, both Chris Paddock and Zebby Matthews project better than Simeon Woods Richardson. How's
Yeah.
your feel there?
That feels right.
Does it feel
Again,
right to
like
you? I was surprised to see it. I was surprised to see Chris Paddock have better projections than Simeon Woods Richardson.
again, there's just minimal rhyme or reason for me that Simeon Woods Richardson was awesome last year. Like I don't know. I understand now I'm low on Paddock and I'm lower on Paddock than I am on SWR. So I would say the Paddock one is weird, but the Zebby Matthews thing I actually get because, he was probably tired at the end of the year and we mentioned like he's too around the strike zone, but he was dominant at the beginning of the year in minor league baseball last year. So I think Zebby will be better than Simeon Woods Richardson. I don't think Paddock will be. The other one is like, really? Like Danny Coulomb at a 3.48? Really? I understand the top four. I understand Duran, Jack, Sands, and Stewart for sure. But then like I get down to Coulomb and even Michael Tonkin at a 4.1 in 63 innings. Like Alcala at a 4.02.
Yeah.
Not everybody's gonna hit like that, I don't think.
What if they do? What if this is the year the Twins stay healthy?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna pick them to finish fourth in that division. They're gonna win the World Series.
I
Again, I'm
know.
always wrong on the Minnesota Twins. Always.
Twins fans, if you're hearing me right, Jack's down on you. Projections are up. Could be in line for a great year. When those
Could
things
be.
combine, that could be awesome. Time to put on your White Sox hat back on. This is a hilarious one. WRC Plus. Who wins? Edgar Caro or Luis Robert Jr. next year? Because Edgar Caro is projected a higher WRC Plus than Luis Robert this season. 106 for Caro, the 22-year-old catcher, versus Luis Robert at 105.
What
Who
kind of
puts up a
question is
higher WRC Plus?
What kind of question is this?
It's a great one.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Talk to me about Edgar Caro. Why do they have a 106 WRC plus?
He's awesome, and he was really good in AAA to end the year, and he was, relatively speaking, really good in the Southern League, but it was his second full year in the Southern League. But I mean, like the flip side of the flip side would be he was so young, right? So he was repeating Double A, but he was also like he shouldn't have been there when he was an Angels prospect. So I like him a lot. I think he's great, and I think he can be a decent enough defender, and I think he can hit. But Luis Robert, like, come on, that's unfair to him.
So you'd pick Luis Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes. 8 days a week, I'm picking
okay,
Luis
but
Robert.
you were just giving me shit about Boba Fett. You're like, what did you see? And I had to come up with absolutely nothing. And I'm doing the same with Luis Robert here. What did he do last year? It was horrible.
Yeah, he was horrible, but like that could all be injury related. I don't know.
Yeah, see,
Also, his team won 41 games last year.
I mean, the Blue Jays won 74.
Yeah, that's 33 more than the White Sox. You think about the level of apathy that Bo Bichette might have had at the end of the year, times that by 40.
How about this? We'll spin it this way. Edgar Caro's projections should make White Sox fans really happy here
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think they want to be staring at Corey Lee for much longer. And after seeing Kyle Teal rocket a baseball of Roki Sasaki and is on his second pitch of the sim game, there's a lot of good young players going to come up and help the White Sox this year.
Yes, this is going to be a much more encouraging 49 loss season. I'm or
Or
49 win season.
I think it's
I,
more.
I'm serious. Like I think you saw the abyss for the White Sox last year, and opening day may just stink for White Sox fans. I have no idea. Like they're going to run out a lineup that's just brutal. But by the All Star break, and you've got Noah Schultz and Hagen Smith in that rotation, and you've got Thorpe in there, and you've got Cannon in there, and you're figuring it out. Um, and then you've got Leisure hopefully settling into that closer role, and then the lineup has Colson Montgomery, hopefully with his feet under him at that point. A catching tandem of Teal and Caro. Braden Montgomery knocking on the door. I think Mydroth is going to be good, and I think Mydroth is big league ready right now. There are a lot of things that can make this team more interesting by the All Star break, and you're going to see that.
Even helping the floor, bringing in a guy like Mike Talkman. He's coming off a season where he was above average by WRC plus.
Yeah, but like
Josh
that's
Rojas
not going to
helps him
help
as
make.
well.
It's not going to make people feel better on opening day.
I totally understand that. I'm just talking about raising the floor a little bit
Sure,
from
sure.
guys who are absolute holes who can
Yeah,
barely swing a bat versus big leaguers.
I do think last year was the abyss.
Yeah.
Like it's not
One
getting
more
worse.
one more for the White Sox. Miguel Vargas, 103 WRC plus. You buying it?
Yeah, I am. That
Yeah,
year was that was a year from hell last
I
year.
agree.
I think you give him a 5 months to recalibrate. I think Miguel Vargas is a league average baseball player, and I think you're going to see an average baseball player.
But this is making me more and more positive about the White Sox. Like the more we think about it, it's like, well, what if Andrew Vaughn puts up a 110? What if Benintendi isn't a below replacement level player?
If Vaughn puts up a 110, then they trade him. If Benintendi is better than a replacement level player, then they trade him. Like
It's a good point.
if anybody takes on that contract.
But then they get more pieces. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm,
sure. No, I. The thing is, like, the excitement is going to come from what's not on the big league roster on opening day. Promise.
and that makes them exciting. All right, before we get to the National League West, and then I have a last word, we're going to take our last break. I just want to say now, I'm sorry, Astros fans. Your team, even more than the Blue Jays and the Royals, your projections make the most sense I've ever seen. I mean, it's just Christian Walker is good. Yider Diaz is good. Altuve is going to outperform his projections. Jeremy Pena is a solid shortstop. Jake Myers is going to be a decent player. Isak Paredes is going to hit, his 20 home runs. So I guess I could say that to you. Like he's
They have
projected for
20?
20 home runs. You probably think
No,
higher, right? Me
more.
too. Like it's
28.
just, it's so obvious, right? So on the pitching side, they love Framber. They love Hunter Brown. They think Ronel Blanco takes a slight step back, which we all agree probably will. They
Yeah.
think Spencer Arrighetti is going to be up and down, but rack up the strikeouts. We all agree, right? Luis Garcia is going to come back and help this rotation. So there's not a lot to pull from. Josh Hader and Brian Abreu create a really good back end tandem, right? Caleb Ort stepping up, Brian King. We know all this. I don't think anything just went out and shot from a cannon. My one thing, though, that I wanted to bring up, and that, again, that doesn't make the Astros a bad team or anything. They'll still be a very good team. It's just there was no major takeaways from any of their stuff. One, though, that did make me a little bit scared. Are you buying that Yordan Alvarez puts up a better offensive season than both Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto by WRC plus? 170. Second highest in baseball to judge. Are you there? Ugh.
Yeah. Yes. I'm not there to say like, yeah, Jordan's gonna be better than Otani and Soto, but you know my love for
I
Jordan
know.
Alvarez.
That's
Like
why I
I
wanted
think
to ask you that question.
he's the perfect hitter. Like he's a mammoth human that hits the ball 117 and gets into it all the time and doesn't whiff and draws his walks. His plate discipline is elite. Like he's who I would create in a lab. So yeah, I think he's a top 4 hitter in baseball. I think he's in that clumping. I think after Judge, those next 3 are pretty interchangeable with Jordan, Otani, and Soto.
I think the way
Offensively, in terms of offensive production, in terms of just WRC plus output, because like, don't think that Otani and Jordan Alvarez are interchangeable on a roster. Like that's not how
yes.
that works. But I think by WRC plus, I think it's Judge is the clear leader. Like I think it should be Judge versus the field, and then after that, I could see Jordan, Otani, Soto finishing in any which order.
I'm with you. I think the way that Jordan gets there, because he finished fourth last year, it went Judge, Otani, Soto, Jordan,
That
or it might have
sounds
been
right.
Judge, Soto, Otani. I think it was Otani second, but whatever.
I'm
Jordan was
looking right
fourth.
now. Yeah.
The way Jordan gets there is by hitting more home runs. Because the thing with Jordan Alvarez, he has, I mean, is it fair to say he has 80 grade power? But the thing is, he doesn't ever put up more than 40 home runs. He's never done that in a season, right? It's mostly 35. And that's a testament to Jordan Alvarez.
Yeah.
He's not looking to hit home runs. He'll smack doubles, he'll smack singles. He hits everything so hard. He's not looking to hit the home run. It almost feels like he just runs into them because he's so big and strong. But if he can put together a 40 to 45 home run season, that's how he gets to be number 2.
Yeah. So it was Judge at 218, Otani at 181. The fact that there's almost a 40-point difference between Judge and Otani is insane.
Best hitter in
Judge,
baseball.
Otani at 181, Soto at 180, Jordan at 168, Bobby Witt was at 168 as well.
Okay. So tied for fourth.
Jordan walks at an 11% clip. That's the same as Otani. He Ks at a 15% clip. That's lower than any of the other 3. But his 35 homers a year ago were lower than any of the other 3. He does it by hitting 40 homers.
Yeah, that's how he
Also,
does it.
like he hit 308 last year.
Yeah.
That's
He's awesome.
crazy.
He's so great.
He's awesome.
Mariners is a fun one. Let's go through some of their projections. One thing that'll fire the both of us up, fired me up when I saw it. Victor Robles is real.
No, that
By the
doesn't fire me
projections.
up.
Why not? Aren't you a
Okay,
Victor
by the
Robles
projection.
guy?
I feel good. I'm happy for Victor Robles, but
Yeah.
like that doesn't fire me up that oh they've got a real piece in Victor Robles here. I'm not going to do that.
I think that fires me up. 2.6 F4, 105 WRC plus. I mean, they got him for nothing. Just adding him is great for the Mariners. Like they need as
It's
many
great for the
bats as they can
Mariners, but
get.
like I don't think he's going to be a 105 WRC plus guy
Why the hell not?
because he's been not that for years.
What if he found his spot? What if he found it with Seattle? And we have to also
What if
remember
he's
that
Jurickson Profar?
in 2023, the guy put up a 113 WRC plus. It wasn't in that many games, but he has been hitting now since 2023. I see no reason why he can't do that.
I'm not buying this.
I'm buying it. Another prospect kind of similar to Carson Williams that I just wanted to ask you about. He's only projected 38 games this year, but in those 38 games, his projections are really solid. Cole Young, WRC plus slightly below 100, but if prorated over 162, he'd be a 2.2 win player already. Like, do you think he can make an impact for the Mariners this season? What do you think?
I guess he wouldn't because Crawford's going to play short. I think he's a good defender. Um, but I know lack of impact is going to be a serious concern. Like, I don't know. Cole, he's not a blind spot, but like, I don't know. Cole Young's game is a little boring. Like he's got one of the more boring games in the top 100. I don't really know how it translates over to Major League Baseball in a 40 game sample.
Mm.
Like I see it translating over 162. I think I know what he can do over 162, but over 40 games, it's not like, oh, Cole Young is here. Cole Young has arrived. I think he's just a solid player all around. But that's probably not a good answer. Like Aram could give you a better answer.
Okay, to follow that up, is he the option at shortstop if Crawford goes down? Because I know Dylan Moore can play some shortstop, but
Yeah.
would you like to see that if he were to get hurt, that Cole Young is then the answer instead of them just piecing it together?
I am out on teams opting to bring up top prospects when guys get hurt. Like I'm out on prospects being band-aids. So like Cole Young is in the fold, but like so is Master Boney, and you could figure things out there. Depends on the severity of the injury. If JP Crawford's out for the year, then you entertain Cole Young. But if JP Crawford's going to miss a month, like Brendan Rodgers last year, it's like, oh, time for Adael Amador. No, it's not time for Adael Amador. It's time you grab somebody on the DFA, limbo market. I think they can find somebody else to handle it. Like, can Leo Rivas play short? You mentioned Dylan Moore. Like, that could work. I don't know. I would rather just put a band aid on it than start Cole Young's major league process. I'd rather just see him play in Tacoma.
Let him mature. I understand. I mean, he didn't get above double A last year and he put up a
Right.
759 OPS in double A. I was just, and that's why I was surprised to see his projections look pretty damn good. I was like, oh, am I missing something? Let me ask
No, I don't
Jack.
think you're missing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think you're missing anything.
And this is an exercise that we do every single season, and it's always fun. Rank these Mariners five starting pitchers by ERA. Do it.
Gilbert one.
Okay. I'll read you the projections after.
Okay. Gilbert one. Kirby two.
Okay.
Wu three. Castillo four. Miller five.
So I fully agree with you. That's exactly how I would do it too. But they have Gilbert, Kirby, Castillo, Wu, Miller, and
And
Kirby
I
and
get
Castillo are
that.
separated by .01, 366, 365.
So part of me wanted to put Castillo at two. Like the top, honestly, all five are so interchangeable to me. I think Bryce Miller will just like run into maybe a home run problem. Like,
Yeah, like I think Bryce Miller is going to put up a better season than Brian Wu. I just feel like Brian Wu is going to put up his 130 innings at a low threes again.
yeah,
But
like I
Bryce
just
Miller's going to throw 180 at a 3.6.
yeah, I will take Miller's season over Wu because it's going to be 30 more innings and the ERA is 10 points higher. Like I'll
Yes,
take that.
agreed. Totally agree with that. Mariners fans, how would you rank him? Let us know in the comment section below. Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Luis Castillo, Brian Wu, Bryce Miller. That's how the projection systems rank them. Let us know in the comments below. Texas Rangers, one projection that pissed me right off. Why do they hate Josh Young? 97 WRC plus with 17 home runs? What? He was over 100 WRC plus last year when he was hurt like all of the year. So he's going to be healthy and worse? Makes zero sense to me. He's a good hitter. 97 WRC plus, I will not accept, Jack.
I get it. He doesn't walk, and that's probably what docked him in like the projection algorithm. Like he walked, what, he was an all-star, 2.7 WAR. He walked 5.8% of the time. And then this year, 188 plate appearances, he walked 4.5% of the time.
The power
Not
projection
going to
is too
walk.
low, too.
What?
The power projection is too low, too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to like close my eyes and visualize a Josh Young season because he's been really hurt over the course of his career.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't accept it. All right.
okay.
Here's one it's high. These projections are high, but I think you might go higher. Wyatt Langford, 126 WRC plus, 24 jacks, 18 steals, a 3.6 F4. And you got to remember, Jack's using that face for everybody on YouTube. He understands conservative projection systems. So to have that is really, really good.
I love this. The fact that they hate Chorio and they love Langford is so weird to me. Like
Yeah.
you should just love both.
Yeah, it doesn't make
It
any sense to me.
it's the why not both Old El Paso taco shells commercial, man. I I'm in. Like any projection you spit out that's positive on Langford, I'm like, yeah, higher. Like just keep pushing it.
You want me to give you another one that's going to make you happy?
Yeah.
Among pitchers with at least 100 innings projected for the Rangers this year, guess who's projected second in ERA after DeGrom?
Kumar Rocker.
Kumar Rocker.
Yeah.
3.8. That's a good projection there, Jack. And that's not to disservice Nathan Eovaldi. He's still got a good projection too. It's just I want to witness. Like I want Kumar Rocker. You know those LeBron posters where it's Nike and it's just witness? I want a Kumar
hmm
Rocker one.
You
I
remember
want
when I
him
made
just
that Connor?
staring down the barrel.
You remember when I made the Connor Joe one?
Yeah, I want one of
The
those for
witness
Kumar
Connor
this
Joe
year.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I think by the end of the year, Mally's just the weird one because like Cody Bradford, that's okay, you can move it. Dunning, it's okay, you can move it. And I know you like Cody Bradford a lot,
Yeah.
but
Please
I
watch your
think by
tone.
yeah, I know. I think by the end of the year, DeGrom, Eovaldi, Rocker, and Leiter is going to be a really fun front four, and then you've got Gray as the five, or Bradford as the five, and Gray in the pen.
I'm not willing to put Leiter in there until he shows it. We just can't
Yeah,
just
I
keep
just think
putting Leiter
Leiter's
in.
I think Leiter is in the midst of showing it. Like I think the back end of last year, like kind of really helped me understand that he can show it, and I think this year, like I hope he gets big league starts because I think he can show it.
No, I think right now it's Eovaldi. I think the five for the Rangers this year, as long as DeGrom stays healthy, it's going to go DeGrom, Eovaldi, Kumar Rocker, Cody Bradford.
John Gray or
I'm
Malley,
I'm more inclined to go with Malley, but
I get it.
I think that's going to be the five. And I don't think Leiter. I think Leiter shows some spot starts if a guy goes down and maybe some bullpen work, but I think it's mostly going to be those five this year. I mean, the
Yeah.
Rangers want to win the World Series, and they got the team to do it. I don't know if Leiter. I haven't seen anything from Leiter to make me think that he's better than any of those five, even better than John Gray right now, even better than Dane Dunning right now. I know it sounds crazy, but like he has not shown enough yet. I'm not willing to sell him though for the future, right? I still believe in him long term. I just think he didn't show me anything really at the end of last year to make me think that he is going to be a mainstay this season.
I think he's going to capitalize on this shot this year.
If he does, the Rangers get even better. Like, because
Yeah.
if he's good, then you keep going down the
No,
line of starters.
we've been
Then it's not like you need 200 innings from or 160 from DeGrom to even, you know, be relevant. You
we've
can,
been hitting
yeah.
this. We've been hitting this for a couple months. Like they are the boomer bust team in Major League Baseball.
Another positive point about the Rangers projections have Chris Martin and Robert Garcia creating a good back end duo. I could buy that. Robert Garcia has great numbers. He came over from the Nationals in the Nathaniel Lowe trade.
Yeah.
And Chris Martin's like 100 years old, but he keeps starting in good seasons. Like, I think that's going to be the Rangers' weakness this year. Losing Kirby Yates really, really sucks. Um,
Even Leclerc, dude. Even
yeah,
losing Leclerc sucks. I wish. I still hope it's on the table. Like I think Helsley fits in like a glove
oh,
in Texas.
perfect. They're not going to do it. The Cardinals might just not trade him. We'll see. Maybe a deadline move.
We'll see.
Uh, Sacramento A's. Their projections are fun. Really bullish on the A's offense. They think the rotation is horrific, and we'll explain it.
That's
So
okay.
bullish on the A's offense. Brent Rooker still being one of the best in all of baseball.
Yeah.
Lawrence Butler, Shea Langeliers, and JJ Bleday all projected at WRC plus above 110. Not just 100, above 110. I could buy all of those names being above
Buy all of
110,
it.
couldn't you?
Yeah, I could buy all of it. I'm telling you, man, like this is a fun lineup. This is a very fun lineup in Sacktown.
Jacob Wilson projected 2.5 WAR. Zach Geloff returning to form. Tyler Soderstrom making an impact. Like that's 8 guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm telling you, like I think I think the A's have something going on offensively. They need to pay other pitchers. And like Sevy's a good start, but the rest of that rotation is really bad.
So let me put the lid back on the excitement. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Luis Severino's projections are horrific.
Why?
Or
hitter-friendly
six.
ballpark, but like, I mean, even then, it was the most pitcher-friendly ballpark in the PCL. Now, that's not saying much.
I wonder if they're projecting he just got his bag and he's just going to hang out. Because I don't know why they're so down on him.
I don't know. It's really weird.
Jeffrey Springs is projected to be the most valuable arm, but just to put in perspective of how down the projections are in the A's pitching, Mason Miller is the top projected ERA at 2.83. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Jeffrey Springs is next at 3.83. Like it should be a slew of relievers before your first starter, unless you have a Paul Skeens or a Tarek Skubal or a Zach Wheeler or a Garrett Crochet or any of these guys with really aggressive projections. But when you go back to Jeffrey Springs and then it's like a bunch of 4 ERA relievers and starters, this is going to be a big over team for all my gamblers out there on BetMGM. A's overs. It's going to be a trend this year. They can't pitch, but they're going to hit. You
sure.
with that?
Dude, I'm looking for anything on like Sacramento's park factor. Like, how would it play compared to other big league parks? You just can't find it.
I
But
know by being in Sacramento, I know it's going to be really hot. Like,
it's
and
gonna
that
be hot.
obviously
Isn't
helps
it
hitting.
dry heat? It's dry heat because it's inland, right?
Yeah, but it's just hot.
Okay.
It's you know that kind of hot where it's like, is it humid or is it dry? You're like, I don't know. It's fucking hot
It's just
out.
hot.
It's
Yeah,
just
I
hot.
get it. Yeah.
We'll wrap up with the Angels. One thing that I do want to note: Logan O'Hoppe, Zach Neto, very solid projections.
Yeah.
Here's a hilarious one.
Shanawa.
No, Yohan Moncada versus Joe Adell, higher WRC plus next year.
Give me give me Moncada.
Moncada's the projections disagree. They got Joe Adell at 100, Yohan Moncada at 98.
WRC pluses?
Yep,
Those are a lot better than I was expecting them to
right,
be.
way better, way
Way
better.
better.
Were you expecting to be like, one's at 81, one's at 80?
Yeah, I was expecting like, oh, this guy's at 82, this guy's at 79. I was like, no.
So here's what I keep going. It'd be the most White Sox thing ever for Yohan Moncada to, for whatever reason, then find it with the Angels. But it would
And
be the
Tim
least
Anderson?
Angels thing ever for Yohan Moncada to find it with the Angels.
Correct. Correct.
So
So what do you want to have happen?
I don't know. He might just combust on the field,
Right.
just
I
blow up.
it's like, well, we found the thing worse than Rendon.
Yeah. Shout out Joe Adell. One thing that I also wanted to talk about: projections don't love Christian Moore like at all. Like I've gone through a ton of rookies that might not
Mhm.
even make the big league team this year, might be a September call up. Christian Moore is likely going to make the team out of camp, I think, the way how aggressive they are promoting their prospects.
Yeah.
Has hit in every level. Why 89 WRC plus? I think it's too
I think
low.
I think that's fair. Like, dude, big league ball, man. It's just different than the SEC, and it's different than Double A. Like, I understand that he got off to a hot start, but then he cooled off big time. And like, that's the thing. The numbers look good because he had an out of body experience to open up his professional career. If he downturns a little bit, projection systems are going to pick that up, and they're going to say, "Oh, that could result in some elongated struggle and all that." Like, I would take an 89 WRC plus from him over the course of a full season. I totally would. Like, I don't think that's a bad first year.
I'd be disappointed because I think they're,
First year, I think year two, year three, he could be good, but he's a year removed from college. He's less than a year removed from college.
yeah. Let me look at, I want to look at Shanwell again. Let me just pull up Nolan Shanwell's.
Okay, I'm also going to pull up rookies. You said an 89 WRC plus.
Like Shanwell played 29 games. And remember, I mean, he played 22 games in the minor leagues, put up a 112 WRC plus. I know it was in 29 games and then 104 next year. Like if I'm an Angels fan, I want Christian Moore to win Rookie of the Year.
Okay, so Pete Crow Armstrong. Let's play this game.
He's a way worse hitter than Moore, though, or at least at the
You
very beginning.
sure?
It's so much less impact with the bat.
PC,
Like I don't think
PCA
that's a
season
good.
long. I think you're discounting PCA's ability to like impact the baseball. Like he can hit
Yeah, he
25
can get
homers.
into power. I don't know. It just feels like a. I don't know.
No, man, like PCA had an 87 WRC plus. Like I
I
don't know,
just think
I'm not going to convince you, but Like, I don't think 89's a bad year by any stretch.
I'm hoping for more, and I think Angels
Yeah,
fans
I
are
get it.
too.
Yeah.
One pitcher that I want everybody to keep their eyes on, some fantasy baseball people as well, and of course the Angels already know him well. Jose Soriano.
Hmm.
He's coming off a year where he put up a 3.42 ERA in 113 innings, and while he throws gas, he's not striking out a lot of guys, but he did show some good strikeout stuff in the second half, pitching to a 2.45 ERA. It wasn't just 25 innings, but with 25 strikeouts in the second half. Projections, again, if you have an ERA below 4 in these projections, like they really like you. And he's at a 3.91 in 140 innings next year. Right? The Angels rotation, it looks really weird. Right? We see Kyle Hendricks in an Angels jersey, and we're like, what the hell is going on? You say Kikuchi, it's like he the ace, but he actually has pretty decent numbers. It's like who's going to round out this rotation? Jose Soriano is probably going to be a pretty damn good arm for them. That's all I really had to say. Ready
He
for my last
starts up
word?
guys. Yeah, I'm ready, but like Jose Soriano, his biggest competition is going to be Jose Soriano.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
nobody hits him. Yeah, I'm ready for your last word.
Do you remember that meteor that was being mentioned that had like a nearly a 3% chance of hitting us? Did you see all those clips from the news
Yeah, yeah,
outlets and
yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
In 2032, prediction changed. We're down to 0.0017%.
That's still a lot higher than I would prefer it being.
Yeah, but there was a little bit of a scare here because they're supposed to alert the public as soon as it's above 1%. And it got up to as high as 3, but now it's back down to 0.0017%. And this meteor, it's like the size of a large building.
It's huge. Yeah,
It's
like it
between
would
130 feet to 300 feet. Like it would wipe out civilization if it hit us.
yeah, it would change the world. Like
Yeah, we're good though.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's all I
I
got.
like it. But again, like the fact that there's even a number attached to it is not comforting to me.
Maybe we could just put up like a like we could fire a bunch of sunfish into the atmosphere to get it off course. Like those fucking
That
big
was
old
an
fish.
all-time. That was I think my favorite last word from you to this point. It's just like they just float around and sometimes they overheat.
So just like Jack, hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode. The best way to support, rate and review on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your pods. Subscribing, liking the video, commenting on YouTube, of course. Merch shop revamped. Go check it out.
Mhm.
Let us know in the YouTube comments below. Again, you don't have to buy anything. Just let us know what you think of the changes of all the merch there. Again, if you have any ideas, our DMs are always open. And if you want to go get yourself a hat, they're fire. Sweatshirts, awesome. Athletic tees, polos, we got it all. Go check it out in the merch shop below. Of course, we will be back on Friday. For Jack McMullen, I'm Peter Apple. With that, thank you, everybody.